Welcome to the show, Jonathan. How are we doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Lovely stuff. Yeah. So this show is called Mastering Business Growth because we are trying to master business growth, and we do that by speaking to people like yourselves who've done very well in business. So please, in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
So my name's Jonathan. So I'm originally from Harrogate. Moved to Leeds to go to university. I've worked in sales since I was 18, basically. So all of my life. Worked for quite a few different businesses, and then decided to go to uni to get myself a better job. Got myself a job out of uni. Wherever I've worked in sales, I've always done very well. But it used to be the case that I'd go somewhere, I'd work there for 4 weeks, and I'd be like battling with the top guys. When I started working recruitment, it was a different kettle of fish. Mm-hmm. It took me 6 months to even be able to know what I was doing. It took me 12 months to get all right at it, and 18 months to get good at it. So when I finally finished with my recruitment job, I was number one in the business. And so the issue was back then is that work-life balance did not exist in the recruitment industry at all. And I guess it's a preconception that people still have a lot as well. You do have to work hard. You do have to still put a lot of hours in. But back then you were working from 8 till 7:30 every day, and something I've always been massively into is self-development. Like I've always wanted to be able to develop myself and all those kind of things. I realised I hadn't had a single bit of training in the past 12 months, and normally I'd have done my own stuff, but I couldn't. So decided, right, it's time to move on. It'd always been an ambition of mine to run my own business. So I come from a line of self-employed people. I wouldn't necessarily say entrepreneurs, but people who'd always worked for themselves. All my mum and dad's friends all worked for themselves as well. So went into business with a couple of people and started Corecom Consulting. So that was nearly 17 years ago now. So started off with a couple of other directors. We went our separate ways and ended up just being me. So this was in 2008 when I was on my gardening leave, sat on the sofa eating my cornflakes, hearing about Credit Crunch. I'm like, what's this? Some kind of new cereal? It was a bad time to start a business, and so BD in those days was really, really hard. So everyone you were ringing, they were like, we've just let 2,500 people go, we've just let 40% of our workforce go. No, Jonathan, we're not hiring contractors. So it was an interesting time to start a business, but most good businesses, or a lot of the big businesses around the world, have all been born out of recession times. So started off as 4 directors and then went to 1, grown the business up and down since then. And then we've also now started so I'm also a co-director of another business called Corecom Technology Academy. So we've got a recruitment business for just general IT people, and then we also help people find junior talent as well. So helping grow the market and
How did you know you wanted to start a business? Was it just something? Did you see benefits from the people you're working for?
I think starting a business for me wasn't when I started working. It was when I was 4 or 5 years old and I started trading things with other people in the playground. So I've always enjoyed that kind of thing. So I've never been massively into gaming, but whenever I got hooked on a game, it was always things like Age of Empires. So it was always like growing something and then seeing those rewards and efforts result in something bigger and bigger and
just
bigger.
Getting tactical and being a bit of an organizer, if you will.
Yeah. So I've recently done a thing called Strengths Finder, which I found really, really useful. And one of my things is basically like being in a command post. So that's where I'm comfortable. That's where I want to be. Mm-hmm. So I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. Like I still graft even now. But yeah, so I've always wanted to work, and I've always worked for myself in some way, shape or form, because if you work in sales, you are kind of working for yourself. You get paid commission, and you get paid commission based upon your results. So I've kind of always worked for myself, but it's always been an ambition of mine. But there is also another piece to the puzzle there as well, which is, so when I was younger, so my mum and dad got divorced. We grew up with not very much cash at all, and we were at Harrogate Fair, and we're walking around, and we had to decide which 2 rides that we wanted to go on, because that was the budget. That's all we had. So we're going around the fair. We've done 1 loop all the way around, and I guess like looking at it more spiritually now, like taking in the fair is the fair as well. So walking around the fair is kind of part of it. And I bumped into my godfather, who's a self-made man. He's done very well for himself, property developer. And I remember looking up at this man who's holding hands with his 2 kids. And I said to my mum, I was like, "Who's that?" She's like, "Oh, that's your godfather. He's going to be very rich one day." And I said, "What does he do?" And she said, "He's a businessman." I went, "I want to be a businessman." So, I didn't really know what it meant at that stage, but I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to be like, I didn't ever want to be. Well, so I used to say I wanted to be a vet because I liked animals, but yeah, after some work experience, realised very quickly I didn't want to do that. It's not a glamorous job at all. No. So you get covered in all kinds of animal waste and all the rest of it. So
the worst bit.
It's I mean, fair play to them for doing that as a job, but I realised I could not do that as a job. So yeah.
Do you know, it's funny how these childhood things that are implanted in your mind kind of manifest into the adult life, and we often don't even question it. Have you questioned it throughout your life and thought, do I actually really want to be a businessman?
I've questioned lots of things over the course of my lifetime. Who am I? What do I want? Like all of these things.
And I only ask that because I sometimes have had these things implanted in my mind from being young, and I've just sort of rolled with it because it's like, that's what you know, that's what you do. Yeah. But then as you get older, you do start to look at other options, but then you go, "Oh no, that's not me. It's not what I do." And you're kind of just rolling with what is normal, what is things you've always believed. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've recently started to think there are many people out there who be having this same thought as well. That I think I might have ADHD. And there's a lot of things now looking back where I was very confused throughout my life and didn't really know why I thought the way I thought and all those kind of things. And now, like, I think, maybe I do, but obviously with the current state of wait times and all the rest of it, it's pretty hard to get a diagnosis. And even if I do, what does it really tell me? Like, it tells me that I've got something that I've always had, and I've done okay without knowing that. But there is part of me that would like to know that. But I've questioned everything throughout my life. Like, I'm a big questioner. Like, I'm always thinking, like, is this the right thing? Am I doing this the right way? But I think that is entrepreneurship as well, is looking at, like, so what are we doing now? Where do we want to be, and how are we going to get there? And is this path that we're taking, I want to get there, well, I'm going there. No, like, we need to change something, we need to do something different. So I remember even being a kid, like, trying to work out the most efficient way of making a cup of tea. So I used to hold the tea bag and, like, pour it into the tea bag, try and pour it slowly through, and then douche, like, done. Like, no stirring, no waiting, no nothing. I created the filter tea pot without even knowing it.
It does sound efficient, but did it make a good cup of tea?
It seemed to.
Do you still do it now?
I don't do it anymore. No. Can't be bothered. I can do something else for 2 minutes without having to wait. I guess as a kid with no tech and no nothing, it's just like those 2 minutes seemed to be very boring. So it entertained me a little bit whilst I was making the cup of tea. So
with this possible ADHD, and you say you're questioning everything. Are you able to centre yourself and find clarity in what you need to do each day?
I start the day every day by going to the gym and doing some form of exercise. So I might be looking a bit funny. I've got a bit of an injury at the moment. I've started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. So I've done loads of martial arts through my life, but at the moment Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the thing that I'm loving. So I think that helps. I think so. When I wake up in the morning, I don't have anything to think about. The only thing I've got to think, so I have my gym bag packed. I have my gym clothes on top of my clothes. I put my gym kit on, then my clothes. I brush my teeth, put my contact lenses in, go downstairs and go. Like there's nothing to think about. And I think that that is something that's really important as well in life, is to make simple systems and then drill them repeatedly. And it just makes everything so much simpler. So not having to think. I love the idea of just wearing the same clothes every day. I know, like Steve Jobs did that. There's, I think Zuckerberg does that. I don't know. It certainly doesn't have much in the way of fashion sense otherwise, does he? So I hope that's
Steve
what he's doing.
Also
Steve Bartlett,
just has that jumper in
black t-shirt,
700.
It's I've heard about this. Is it decision fatigue? So the less decisions you have to you make every day, well, the more efficient you can be,
more productive,
with your systems and processes.
So so hit the gym, and then when you come out, like, you've got a sense of clarity anyway. So whilst I'm in the gym, I don't take headphones with me or anything like that either. So I go in there, and it's my kind of thinking time, I guess, a little bit as well. So it's quite often where I come up with some of the best solutions that I've had, where I go in there and I've got a problem, and it's just there chewing away in the background. So it's that old thing of like, oh, what's that person's name? And you can't remember. And as soon as you stop thinking about it, it just comes to you. So, so I think that definitely helps. I like to think I've also got an excuse as well for it, because I'm not necessarily the most organised person, and I like to think that the ADHD kind of like, is my get out of jail free card for that one. But yeah, I've never been particularly good at that. But again, I think that's another reason why systems are so important, and like drilling the same things over and over again like helps you kind of like with that success. I mean, clarity has been difficult to find in the past couple of years as well. So obviously we had COVID. Looking back now, COVID was a great time for me. Like, I got to spend loads of time with my family. It's where I got to start working from home. Got to just simple times. Like, it just took me back to the 80s a little bit. I mean, we had more technology than ever before, but less things to do, less things to worry about, and it just it felt quite good. Yeah. But in the past couple of years, the market's been really tough in our sector. There's 40% less recruiters now than there was at the start of 2023. Wow. So, but I mean, that's good for us, because as long as we can kind of survive this and keep on going through this, then when we come out, we're going to be one of the OGs, and hopefully that leads to more and more success. So, so clarity, I think it's like it's a difficult concept. I think you need to take yourself away from the business as well. So something I read about years ago was doing a workation. So the workation is where you go somewhere and you work on the business rather than in the business. So you go away, you take some of those challenges, some of those problems, and you kind of look at them and try and solve those issues. I'm lucky to live down the road from Rudding Park, so I head down there. I've got an electric car, so they used to give you free charging as well. Go down there, pay £3 for a coffee and get free charging, beautiful surrounds, and just like think about, okay, so where am I? Where do I want to be? How am I going to get there? So yeah.
Do you know, speaking of making things as simple as possible and coming up with systems that you can just drill over and over again, how do you know which parts of your life, specifically business, you need to create systems for?
I guess it's that review again, that kind of like looking back and saying, right, okay, so where are we? Where do we want to be? But anything that's hard as well, anything that's tricky, you need to have systems in place. And I guess, like I said before, like I'm always looking at how do I make this more efficient? How do I get there quicker? How do I make sure that what I'm doing is repeatable? So we've got, in terms of our company, we've got like an L&D like kind of chunk of information that most companies would die for. We've just worked really hard at that over the years as well. So the previous company where I worked, they were very process driven as well. So there was a process for everything. I also, so when I was younger, when I was at uni, I did something called OTC, Officer Training Corps. It's basically TA for students. It was one of the best drinking clubs at uni. Pound a pint in the bar, like 60p for a shot of vodka. Happy days. So and then you get to play with guns, explosives, like all kinds of stuff, like the stuff that you would never normally get to do. Like, everyone, there's a lot of people out there who'd like to have a go at some of those things without any pressure of joining the army. That's exactly what I got to do. I got to pretend to be in the army, play around with all these things, but the army obviously drill processes like you wouldn't believe as well. There's just been lots of things in my life that have kind of built me to want to be process driven. Martial arts is another thing, I guess. Like, you do this, I do this. Like, it's knowing the dance, knowing exactly, like, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. I think that as a business, we are process mad. It's one of our kind of core values. That's what we try to do. But I know what I'm like as well. I know what I'm like, and I've hired a lot of people who've been like me in the past as well, in terms of disorganized and all those kind of things. But the way to overcome that is just to take away the thinking. If you don't have to do the organizing, then you don't have to worry about the problems that creates.
Well, speaking of which, you mentioned a bunch of jobs you had before. You were very good at sales. Are there any processes and systems that you swear by when it comes to sales or business development in general?
Yeah. So, I think the first thing you've got to do is know your market. You've got to know and understand your market. You've got to know who are the players, who are the good players, who are the bad players, who are the in-between players. So it doesn't matter what you're selling, what you're doing. Like, you need to know your market. That's got to be part of it. I think that the first thing I would always recommend you do when you join a business is go in and understand their processes first. So don't try and recreate the wheel from day one. There's nothing more frustrating for a business owner than someone who comes in and goes, I've got different, I'll do this, we'll do. Like, I know I say to people, if your idea is better than my idea, your idea is my idea. Like, I've got no shame whatsoever in stealing ideas. Yeah. I'm not the best person in the world at ideas. No one has a monopoly on ideas. So get in, understand what their processes are first, and then add your flavour and do it slowly. Like, do it bit by bit. Don't do it like big bang and try to change everything immediately, because the chances are process is process for a reason.
People may not have considered the context, why things are a certain way.
Yeah, and I think that, so whenever someone brings a new idea to me, I say, well, look, the reason why we've not done that in the past is this, and we'll give the example. Can you think of a reason why that wouldn't happen? And if they've got an answer, and they could come back and say, well, what about this, this, and this? I'm like, great, let's give it a go. So
Talking about growth specifically, are there any key moments or decisions you recall making that were really pivotal to the company's success?
I've got to give my right-hand man a shout out, Rick Hughes. So he was my employee number 4. He's now my business partner, my right-hand man. So hiring him was definitely a good thing. The thing is, so I'm a great believer in that success is long, boring, and monotonous, and it's not necessarily about like doing one thing and like it changes your world. It's about doing things steadily over time. I mean, even the implementation of creation of new ideas has to be done slowly and over time, and it's never going to be an instant thing. It's always going to be something that takes time to get there. So in the past, we did a thing like a secret agent thing, where we sent people a letter, and it was like an embossed kind of like logo on the back of it, and you opened it up, and it was like secret agent. Here are your instructions. They scanned it with their phone. There's a video of one of my guys coming up. So it was for a .NET developer, but it was working for a business that was involved with kind of spy type stuff. So that's why we kind of did it. And
that's really cool. So
the owner of the business loved it. The HR company didn't love the complaints that she received from some of the businesses that found out that they were trying to take their staff and all the rest of it. So it got stopped. It wasn't necessarily a bad idea, but it was very time consuming as well, and it wasn't as effective as we'd like it to have been. During COVID, we had an idea of, we know that our process will work. So if someone comes to us and says, we want you to find a person, we know that if you follow our process, we'll have that role filled within 4 weeks. Like, there's no two ways about it. But what we needed to do was come up with a way that we get people to follow our process. And the way that we did that is through our retained offering. So the client put some money in, at the beginning, and as long as they follow our process, we guarantee a placement within 8 weeks. If they don't get their person within 8 weeks, we give them that money back. So it's not really a retainer as like historically known. But the difference that it made to our business, it meant that, so during COVID, we made a placement every single week all the way through lockdown 1. And, you know, there were companies out there who hadn't made a placement in 6 weeks. So, but we made sure we were only working on the stuff that people were absolutely wanting to do. And I actually had a friend of mine who rang me up and he said, "Oh, good news, mate. I've got a job for you." I was like, "Oh, fantastic. Like, we're getting to work together." So we start talking. I was like, "Listen, this is the offering. The cheapest way I can do it for you is retained. So what I need from you is I need the payment up front." And he said, "Oh, wait a minute. I'm not sure I definitely want to hire this person yet." It's like, "But you were happy to waste a week of my guy's time working on this role for you, trying to find this person, and you were happy to just at the end of it say, actually, no, we're all right, and then not pay me any money."
Why do people do that? Is that just to kind of gauge how the market is and rates and things like that, or is it complete?
I mean, I guess, yeah, they were just seeing what they could find, see if they could find anything that was interesting. I mean, I guess there's there aren't that many services out there where people don't pay for them, you know, regardless of whether they take them or not. But I guess there are some things out there where people want to know what the value of the house is and all those kind of stuff, and they pretend that they're going to sell it in order to get someone to come around and do some work for them. But yeah, so yeah, that was the other thing that puzzled us, is why are we in an industry where we only get paid if we're one of the 4 people that actually manages to hit the result. Yeah. So imagine like 3 builders, and there's a builder there like, "Oh God, I hope he picks my house, otherwise I'm not getting paid." So, the kids are going hungry tonight. Like, you know, they've not bought the house, and that's not a thing, is it? You don't do that. So we would always rather work with a company exclusive. So we'd rather work with them just one-on-one and have a kind of partnership to it rather than just that. So then the other thing we kind of recognised during that time was the other thing that can go wrong is if the company is undesirable, or if they've got bad press online, or their hiring managers don't know how to interview. There's like a couple of things there where, you know, so we offer, as part of that service, we offer workshops around that as well. So we say to people, "We'll come in, we'll talk to your managers." So I witnessed it firsthand when a client of mine in an undesirable location. So I turned up to meet the candidate beforehand and introduce him to the hiring manager, and I could see what the hiring manager had for breakfast. It was a runny egg sandwich because it was all down the front of his top. I was just like, what are you doing? Like, you know, first impressions count. This is not a good way to start an interview.
That's interesting, actually, because it's the flipped side. Because normally the client has the driving seat of, we're hiring you, so you need to make a good impression on us. But it's, I think probably a lot of people forget that it's like, well, I'm potentially giving up another job, security to come and join you. And right from breakfast, I'm not really turned on by this. That's really interesting.
Well, I mean, the tech sector has been a difficult sector to recruit in for a while now, and anybody who thinks that it's all about them as a business is wrong. Like, if you want the best people, you need to be humble. Like, you need to listen to what those people are saying, what they want, what they're after. There's obviously a big battle at the moment about hybrid working and all that kind of stuff, and dogs in the workplace and all kinds of things. So COVID has created some problems as well in terms of that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that, I think that was definitely one of the things. I mean, so the other thing is, I did a business course called the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, and that was definitely, so in terms of like light bulb moments for me, doing OTC was one of the original ones, because the leadership kind of qualities that it gives you from doing that were massive. But then the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program was another big thing. So I did that in 2014. It's like doing a mini MBA on your business, and you look at marketing, finance, sales, people, etc., like everything that you need to understand. But it also creates a network of individuals as well who are all going through the same thing. Yeah, I think they're some of the biggest ones, to be honest. But like I say, I think it is more about understanding it's a journey that takes time, energy, and effort, and you need to be constantly working along that way. And it's more iterative steps than it is kind of big bang moments. So there's not been there's not been like one thing that's changed my fortune massively. Obviously, winning a good client and those kind of things will do that for you. But I think it's about doing the right things over and over again. And doing the right things is also looking at what you're doing wrong. It's looking at what you're doing right. It's making sure that you kind of adapt as you go through.
Really interesting you say that. That's something we've had no problem at all generating leads for quite some time. Our sticking point has been sales. So that's there's two things you can look at there. It's, first of all, does anyone just not want what we sell, which obviously isn't the case because it's kept us alive so far.
Yeah.
But it's also, we've had to really analyse, like, barrier to entry, things like that. You know, we started selling like a premium production service.
Yeah.
And with that comes with a premium price. You know, I've spoken to a lot of people in our sort of ICP who say, you don't want to price it too low because that's just going to put people off.
Yeah.
Then you price it too high, you alienate all the sort of micro businesses who might need what you do. So it's finding that sweet spot and giving a bit of a value ladder to find that sweet spot and go from there. So like you say, it's constantly going back to the drawing board, constantly looking in the mirror and being like, what's going on?
Yeah.
How can I iron out all these things and ultimately systemize it, like you say?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I think qualifying your leads is a massive thing as well. It's really easy to get sucked in. I know, like in the early days when there was Rick, me, and two other guys, like what I call the original four. We had a client who rang in and they said, we've got 23 jobs that we needed to fill. And this is at a time when like 23 jobs is more than we've had in any month, like out the entire year. And it's one client. It's like, right, everyone drop what you're doing. We're working these 23 roles. And then, so a week goes by and we've not had any feedback on any of the CVs that we've sent. A week later, we get an email saying we've now got 36 roles. It's like, keep going, guys. We've got 36. We never made a placement with that company. We just wasted 2 weeks. So I think that sometimes you can get excited by the shiny, bright things, and it's not always necessarily the best bet. I think understanding who your customer is really important as well, and knowing where your sweet spot is with those businesses as well. But qualifying your leads is absolutely essential for BD. If I had £1 for every time someone said to me, "This is going to be my next thing," and it wasn't, I wouldn't need to work. So it's hard to know what's going to provide you with the fruits of your labour.
Well, tell us about that. How do you best go about qualifying leads without coming across as rude or maybe putting people off in those early stages?
Sure. So, one of the things we can do is get them to commit. So, we've got the retained model, we've got the exclusive model. If you say you want contingent, it's more expensive. So, there's. I still like to think that even if we had a contingent role, we would fill it. But we know that the client's committed if they say they're going to go exclusively with us. So that's one of the ways that we do that. The other thing we do is we take a really detailed job spec with every role that we take. So we make sure we're asking all the questions and making sure that we're getting all the answers that we need before we start the search in the first place. So we need to know that it's a desirable company, desirable outfit, desirable job. What the management team like. So we'll do our research as well. And so this is also part of our offering to them. Like, do you realise you've got 1 out of 5 on Google, or whatever it might be? We'll go do the research and find the stuff. Glassdoor's the worst one, especially for some businesses where we've got a business where they've got a manufacturing arm on one side, and then IT is a big part of it. So everyone goes on there, they look at the 1.8 out of 5 on Glassdoor and go, I'm not going to work there. It's horrible. It's like, no, well, they have also got this factory where they have people who turn up for one day and then leave, or they've been fired for smoking weed outside or whatever it is. It's like those people, you can't take those reviews seriously. But also Glassdoor won't give them the opportunity to separate it out either as well. So, but you kind of work with those businesses to say, look, talk to your current people, talk to your current team. Like, who have you got in your business that will give you a good review? But we can then use case studies from people that we've placed there as well to make sure that we're kind of turning that around for them. But I guess testing the commitment by asking for some money up front is a good way of doing that. But it's also kind of saying that this is our process. Are you okay with that? Like, this is what we're going to do. Are you okay with that? Like, oh, you know, we can't do that. We can't do that. We can't do that. So we have something called the fillability score. So we have like A, B, C, D in terms of like how kind of good the role is, but then we have a number on how fillable it is, and 10's the maximum. So if it was retained, it'd be an R. So we've had to create an R rating as opposed to just A, B, C as well. But if it's R rated and it's a 1, well, we don't want that. We don't want them paying us to like make sure that we stick to our side and all the rest of it, and then but it's an unfillable role. So we don't want a black hole position, and I've seen plenty of those in my time as well. So we have like a rating that tells us how fillable the role is, what the commitment level is, and then we know like whether we should be working it or not. But we also have to test our candidates as well. So we have to make sure that they're committed. So we'll ask them to do things within a certain time frame. If they don't do it, then they're out of the process. So we test the candidate's commitment. We ask them to do something or write something or create something within a time period. And if they don't do it, then we know that they're not committed to this and they're just going to mess us around. Yeah. So the worst thing for us is that our product isn't a product, it's a person. So it's not a win-win relationship, it's a win-win-win. So we need to make sure that all the parties are happy. So we have to sense check both sides. It's not just about sense checking the client, it's also about sense checking the candidate as well. So there's a lot of contractors in our industry. The golden rule is that you don't try and put a contractor forward for a permanent role. And the amount of times that's proven to be true is definitely a reason why that's a rule. There's some of the things that we can do.
And going back to qualifying leads, how do you go about finding the right opportunities and making sure you're finding qualified people?
No, good question. So, I mean, there's lots and lots of ways. I mean, obviously technology is making this easier and easier. So our product's out there that will tell you when someone's received funding. So that's a big thing that we're doing at the moment. We're working with a lot of startups. Silicon Valley was made from this, wasn't it? Like people who had an idea, got some cash off an investor, and then away they go. So we've got lots of ways of finding those companies and finding those places, finding out who are the businesses that have just received funding and then what their intentions are with that funding as well. So the other thing is that we know the market as well. So we have people out there that we talk to on a regular basis, and we find out who are the companies that are hiring people, or our contractors tell us. I've just started a new role at this place. So that's the benefit of. So we look after our candidates and our contractors. So we make sure we look after them, and then in return they tell us, they're like, oh, by the way, these guys are hiring massively in here. Like it wasn't you that placed me. But I really liked you, so I'm telling you that this is a company you want to be working with. So our candidates are our eyes and ears to the market. So we're constantly scouring that. LinkedIn is obviously a big source as well. So you often see new projects starting and those kind of things. We've also got talent insights as well. So on LinkedIn, it'll tell you who are the businesses that are currently growing, who are the companies that are currently reducing, and all those kind of things as well. But I think that the biggest thing you've got to do, like as an individual, is you've got to know your market. You've got to understand what's going on. You've got to know who the key players are out there, and who are the ones who are winning, who are the ones who are losing, and where you can kind of make money from that.
And what is the biggest thing you're struggling with as a business at the minute?
So last year was BD. So even though this is a BD podcast, like last year and the year before to a certain extent. So in 2022, you could get a developer CV and hang it out of our window, and there'd be people throwing $5,000 at you just to look at it. So there was an absolute boom after COVID, and people forgot how to do business development. People stopped doing it. All they had to do was say, "I've got a candidate," and the manager would be like, "I'm in. How much?" It became really, really easy. And as a result of that, everyone took their eye off the ball, including us, like as directors as well. So 2023, 2024, we really kind of doubled down on our efforts in terms of BD. So we've got a company we're now working with who provide us loads of training material. One of the biggest things that they've given us, though, is we've got a thing called time to learn. So we give people an hour a week every week to do learning. So we have like a video that we'll all watch together, and then we'll sit down on a Friday and we'll discuss it, and we'll discuss the finer points. So some people like some stuff, some people like other stuff. But yeah, so we try all these kind of new ways of working and new ideas. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And on a similar thing, what is one of the biggest mistakes you can recall that taught you something that you still use to this day?
I mean, qualification of leads was definitely one. So from that fatal moment where we wasted 2 weeks.
I mean, that's something we've been through a lot. Like endless leads, but no real gauge on how committed they are, which again has wasted a lot of time. So that's definitely been a thing we've learned a lot recently.
Yeah, trust your gut as well. So mainly when you're hiring people. So we've got a gauge that we only want 9 out of 10s. Like, so we're almost as good as the Marines. Not quite. It's not 1%. It's 10% need not apply. So so we're after people who can do the job and can do it well. And there's been a couple of times where I've thought like this person isn't quite right. I can be a bit of a sucker for an X Factor story, and I've taken a risk on some people. I don't do that anymore. So like I make sure that I follow my gut, and I make sure that I don't make those mistakes. But we're all human. Like we still make mistakes, don't we? So yeah, always follow process as well. Always follow process. So a couple of times, in our industry, we trial close people. So we make sure before we try and close them, we check that there's nothing there first that's going to stop them from trying to pull out of the deal, whatever it might be. So we'll make sure first that they're in before we actually go for it. And the 1 or 2 times where in my career where I've done that, where I've not done that, we've hired like a couple of hundred people into our business, but I've hired thousands of people for other people's businesses. And the 1 or 2 times where I've not done it, I've not managed to land those people. So those deals have dropped out.
Do you know, that's something I've always thought about recruitment. Is the process different hiring for yourself as opposed to for someone else? What kind of things do you have to consider?
So I think our hiring process for us is better than what our clients do for themselves sometimes. So for junior talent, we've always done assessment centres, and I think they're out of sorts now in terms of popularity. There's not many people who want to do assessment centres, but recently we've started doing with them a couple of clients, and we've had 100% success rate so far. So I mean, whenever I recruited, it was always 100% success rate anyway. There was only one time where I didn't manage to place it first time round and had to go a second time. As long as you follow the process, then it won't go wrong. But in terms of hiring for ourselves, I think the other thing is it was tough in 2022 to hire people, but because there was a boom, everyone was trying to hire as well. So probably cut some corners in 2022, but we've definitely not done that in 23, 24. So I'd say the way we hire for ourselves is the way that we hire for our clients. So I always say to my guys, would we hire someone that we've not met? No. Well, why are you trying to get your client to hire someone you've not met? So I think that when we hire for ourselves, it's me that's doing it. So it's done to precision and process.
So running the business, obviously, it's a roller coaster. Can you recall one of your highest highs and one of your lowest lows, and how you dealt with them?
I mean, highest highs are great, aren't they? Like,
oh, yeah.
There's nothing to really cope with. I mean, we've celebrated a lot over the years.
Yeah. And I say that because, I mean, these are times where you can give yourself a bit of a false sense of, I've got this.
Yeah. I mean, 17 years of business has taught me that I've never got this. It's not a thing. Like, there will always be punches that get thrown in that you didn't expect, and you've got to be prepared to duck and dodge and all the rest of it. So yeah, I mean, one of my biggest highs was when I won Recruitment Boss of the Year. It was a while ago now, but I won Recruitment Boss of the Year. I was on the awards circuit quite a lot, so it's when I was learning how to do awards. So there is like a method to it, and it's not as straightforward as you think it is. Okay. But whilst I was kind of on this circuit, I was making lots of contacts along the way, and then eventually won Recruitment Boss of the Year. How I coped with it is I went out in Mayfair with Rick. I had a very very late finish and had a great time.
Expensive night.
Yeah, it was a very expensive night, but needed to be done. So as a business, we're very good at celebrating success as well. So celebrate success used to be one of our values, but now we just kind of live it anyway. Like, and when something's core to you, you don't always necessarily need to have it as a value. If it's just that's who we are as a business, that's who we are. So we've done ski trips, we've done summer holidays, we do lunch club. So and the thing is, so all of these things are at risk because there's a lot of people nowadays who are like, oh well, yeah. Some people might not want to do that. And so, well, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But it's there as an option. Like, celebrating success is really important to me. It's something I've always done well. So
why is that?
It makes it all worthwhile. It's what you do it for. Like, so those. Well, I guess the other thing is, so if you don't celebrate your success, then it's just long, slow, boring, monotonous slog for the rest of your life. And if there's nothing in there that makes it worthwhile, so a catchphrase that I use is life's about experience, and without experience, it's existence. And who the hell wants to sign up for that? Mm-hmm. So that's why we kind of do this as well, is that we want people to realise that they're doing well. I remember those early days when I was hitting lunch clubs and holiday targets and those kind of things. It also makes it's a good thing for the stakeholders of the people as well. So if your family know that you're working really ridiculous long hours, and you're not really earning anything from it, and then all of a sudden you start going to like fancy restaurants, you're going on holidays, you start to earn a bit more cash, all these kind of things. It shows that it's worth it as well. It is a journey that this person's going on. It's not just an instant like boom, like I'm earning loads of cash. Like, that's not the thing. Within our industry, it's about building relationships over a course of time, and eventually those relationships should pay you dividends. But I think it's really easy to sometimes just get too single focus on the goal and go, right, that's my goal, that's where I'm heading, and not enjoy the journey. Mm-hmm. So looking back and enjoying the journey is something that you need to relish, because if I didn't, and then COVID comes along, it's just like, well, why am I doing this? Like, I'm now in this pit of despair. So one of my business partners and still one of my good friends sent me a message. So there was a WhatsApp group and some messages going back and forth, and he said, right, well, I'm off to go watch my hopes and dreams, and there was just like a picture of like some wood being thrown into a bin just burning in a yard. And it was just like, and that's kind of how it felt at that time as well. Yeah. It's like, we're dead. Like, we're not going to survive this. Like, us doing one placement a week is not going to pay for us for the rest of the year. Like, we're gone. Like, how are we possibly going to get through this? So one of the things that me and Rick did was we drove in on the Sunday before Boris stood up and said everyone's working from home. And yes, this is bad. It's not going to be a 2-week holiday at Easter. It's going to be a bit more than that. Me and Rick were driving in, and we were going in to make our plan, to decide, right, okay, so if it's this bad, we'll do this. If it's this bad, we'll do this. And if it's this bad, we'll do this. And what happened was this. So we went straight from DEFCON 1 to DEFCON 10. So it kind of like hit really, really fast, really quick. But thankfully, furlough came in as well. That was a big saver for us. So there's a couple of, so we were looking to make redundancies in 2020. And the first group I took in, there's one of the chaps who came in, and I told him what was happening. And he said, "Look, John, I believe in you, and I believe in the business. Like, I want to be here with you. Like, and I know that there's going to be some tough times ahead, but just past that, I want to still be here." He said, "What if I work for commission only?" I'm like, work for free? I'm like, morally, where does that sit with me? Legally, am I allowed to do that? Mm-hmm. I was like, let me have a think about this. So rang one of my friends who's a HR advisor, asked them their thoughts on it. I said, well, you can do it. You just need to make sure your contract will allow you to do it and all these kind of things. And by the end of the day, so I was trying to make 8 people redundant, only 1 person had left. And the other 6 people were staying in the business, working for commission only. 2 weeks later, stand down. And the good news is you're getting paid for those last 2 weeks as well. So it was like, it kind of all worked out really well in the end. So it worked out well for me and worked out well for them. They managed to keep their job during tough times where, he didn't want to be on the job market. And so the guy who said that is still in my company now as well. So he's still there today. So it's been a kind of like a happy ever after story for him. So we've had some great times together. But I think so coping with the lows. So before I had that session with Rick as well, I rang. So Mike Walmsley, big shout out to you. So he was my non-exec director for quite a few years. I rang him, and even though I wasn't paying him anymore, I rang him and said, "What do I do in this scenario?" And his words were like, "In terms of business, we're at war. Like, this is wartime, and you now need to decide what does that mean to you. Like, how do you change your leadership? How do you change everything in terms of the business?" So we didn't have to change a great deal in the end, but we were prepared for it. So we had a plan for if things got really, really bad. If furlough hadn't come in, we had some plans there for what we would do in those scenarios. But yeah, I mean, we're building our business and we're building for growth as well. That's the other thing. So we were planning on growing, and then that came along, and we just hit our record number as well. So that was the biggest we'd ever been. And then that came in. So I've had Mike in the past. I've now got Simon, who's my current non-exec director. I've got my godfather, David Birtles, who's an absolute legend of a guy. But he, even though he doesn't always understand what I'm talking about, he can always help me. I've got to translate a little bit what I'm saying. So I'm used to working with younger people, and I'm trying to explain to him at 50 miles an hour about what I'm going through and all the rest of it, and he's like, slow down, take me back, but always comes up with a solution, and sometimes inadvertently comes up with a solution as well, just by making me think. So looking at a situation and choosing what I do next. So when things get tough, I go to people around me who I know can help me with these things. So there's a couple of people who probably don't know that they're mentors to me as well. And I think this is quite a common thing for entrepreneurs as well. They'll say, I've got mentors and I've got like unofficial mentors as well. I go speak to people. But so in 2023, I remember David saying to me, he's like, well, at the moment it's going to be stormy, and when it's stormy you don't want to be big and tall and waving around in the wind. You want to be short, squat, and like able to deal with it, and like that's where you need to be. I was like, well, how do I go from being lanky and frailing around in the wind to that? He's like, well, that's another conversation. So it's one that we didn't need to have. Like I worked out myself, but I think never think that you've got all the ideas yourself. Like, you need to go to other people and talk to other people and work with the best, like find the best people who are the right people for those solutions. So and so the other thing I guess worth pointing out as well is when COVID happened, there's loads of my team who came to me and they're like, we've got this. And I think that was really heartwarming as well, to have people in the team who are like in their early 20s and saying, don't worry, we've got this. And like having people behind you and having that kind of culture of support within the business, you supporting them during their tough times, they'll come and support you during your tough times. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And is that the same thing as staying resilient when things are looking bad and like dealing with stress? Is it the same kind of thing?
So I think I've never... For a long time, I don't seem to feel stressed like other people feel stress. So I think when I was younger, I did have some counselling sessions. So I had some challenging times. I had some counselling sessions, and I think that has maybe helped me. I also think as well, just growing up like in a bit of a tough spot has also probably helped me as well. So when you come from a tough spot and then you get to a point where, I think everything seems to be gravy, and just because you've got a difficult part of your life compared to where you started, it doesn't seem like much of an issue. So I think, well, if you can get from there to there, I can easily carry on with this and I can easily progress through. Mm-hmm. I do think that breathing helps a lot in terms of these situations.
I've heard of box breathing.
Box breathing. I have heard of that, and I did know what it was, but I've forgotten.
I think it's just like 4 seconds in, hold for like maybe 8 seconds, 4 seconds out, and just repeat.
so I do something similar every day as well. So I'd love to be able to meditate, but my constantly whirring mind will not allow me to sit still. And people tell me, no, it's not meditation, it's not absence of thought, it's knowing your thought. And I'm just like, well, look, I've tried it lots and lots of times. I've got the Headspace app on my phone. Like I try to do these things. I use meditation to go to sleep. That's where I'm able to like control my thoughts and those kind of things when I'm going to go to bed. Like sitting during the day and concentrating on my breathing is just an impossible task for me. I had a friend who had a meditation class and I used to go to his class, but and I told someone else that I used to love it because I used to go under. He's like, what do you mean go under? I just disappear under, and then I come out the other side and not know how long I've been under for. He's like, well, that's almost like sleeping. It sounds like you need more sleep, not meditation. But it was when I just had my first child as well, so maybe that was part of it.
Just learn how to like dip out for a bit. Just
dip under, dip back out again. So every year I do a detox. I think I mentioned to you guys last time that I was on my detox. So I started that, the first ever one in 2003, and I've done it for every year apart from 2021 lockdown 4. I just decided I didn't have the willpower to do it anymore. So for that particular one. But I've always been interested in well-being and kind of like looking after myself and those kind of things as well as everything else, because I feel if you do that, everything else is easier as well. And so this one was talking about having a mindful minute and like just sitting and like breathing, doing box breathing type stuff and having a mindful minute. And so some people have a mindful moment when they're on the toilet. I don't think I can do that.
Where am I?
Yeah. Coming around. Oof, what happened? You were on the toilet, you're now on the floor. So she talks about mindful minutes. I started thinking about where have I got like a minute where I could do this. And so when I go to the gym, I have a minute rest in between each set, and I always do core. I always do some sit-ups at the end, and whenever I do my sit-ups, then I'm lying down on the floor for a minute. That's just wasted time. Like I could have a mindful minute right there. So I take a breath in for 6, hold for 1, and out for 8. That's what it's supposed to be, but it ends up being a bit all over the place. Depends how hard I've been working and all that kind of stuff as well. But so I do have that like mindful moment every day, because when I go to the gym, I do that as part of it. But I think when you're challenged by something, just a simple it helps clear your mind. It helps kind of like, it reduces your heart rate. It does all of those things. And it kind of brings you back down from that level of anxiety to a moment of clarity. And then, okay, so what's my objective? That's what I always start with. Okay, so this has happened. I'm here. I want to be here. How do I get there? Like, what's the plan of attack? And I don't always necessarily have the answers, but as long as you have the right way of thinking, you'll always get the answer eventually. And sometimes you make the right answer, sometimes you make the wrong answer. But inaction is not the answer, generally speaking. Like sometimes not doing anything is the right thing to do, but rarely. But I've always been relatively good at coping with stress. So when I went to uni, I did like a stress test, like as part of the first week of being there. And I was like off the chart compared to everyone else in terms of what I'd done and all these kind of things. And this person was like, we don't seem very stressed. And I was like, no, I don't really feel it either. So I think I've always been pretty good at coping with it. I think doing martial arts, doing exercise has always been a help as well. But I think I don't get too flustered by these things. So there's a simple flow chart. I've got lots of worries around me in terms of the business and my life. Is there a problem? Yes, no. Like, yes, there is a problem. Can you fix it? No. Why are you worrying?
I've seen this.
Can you fix it? Yes, fix it. Is there a problem? No. Why are you worrying? So, and I do think that, I mean, it's incredibly simple and like not really true to life. I get that, but it's a bit of a kind of piss take. Like, you know, don't sweat the small stuff. Like there might be an issue here and now, but is it something you're never going to be able to fix? Like those kind of things, you know. Tough times don't last, tough people do. So that resilience is it's something you need to build, something you need to develop. I think so. The thing I haven't said is that, so when I was 7 years old, there was a guy stood in what I believe to be a dress, like in my assembly hall. He was the choir master, so he's wearing his robes, and he was talking away, and I didn't hear a word he was saying until he said, "And you don't pay us, we pay you." And I was just like, ka-ching. I'm in. Like I knew we didn't have a lot of cash as a family. Like, yeah, if I can earn money for the family, I'm in. By this point, my dad's already gone, so it was just me and my mum and my brother. So I went over and I was like, "What is this?" He said, "It's the choir." I said, "I'm interested." He said, "Give this bit of paper to your mum, like a slip of paper with a number on it. No mobile phones." So she rang him up. I went into the church, tried to sing some scales, failed. They said, "Come back tomorrow, we'll try again." Tried again, failed. Third time, "Don't worry about it, you're in." You can't sing, but we don't care. You're in.
love the effort.
So kept on going, even at an early age. So I was in the choir until I was like 11, and over that time I saved up some like over 100 quid. So I only got paid 20p, and 40p. So 20p for a Tuesday and Thursday, 40p for a Sunday, but managed to save up over 100 quid by doing that. Bought a mountain bike, got a paper round. So I've worked since the age of 7. And I've just constantly grafted all the way through. There's only been one moment in time where I nearly took a job selling adjustable beds, and my mum said, "Who's buying these beds?" I was like, "Old people." So how do you feel about Nana buying this bed? Not happy. But Nana said that she's going to give you some money not to take the job. Wow. Like, are you just taking it because you need a job? I'm like, yes. She said, well, she's going to give you $1,000, so you've got your cost paid for a month, so you don't have to take it. But that's the only time in my life where I've not worked. And when I was at uni, so the first year finished, and I couldn't believe how early it finishes. It was like May. I'm like, what do you mean finishing in May? Like, I'm used to finishing the school year in July. I just said, what am I going to do? And this girl just said, "Jonathan, relax." I was like, relax. That's something I've not done before. I'm not accustomed to that.
Did you like it?
I took 3 days off and got a job.
Yeah. What was the job?
It was working for the university. So there was a thing called the job shop. It was working for Thomas Cook. So the university basically created their own agency. So they had a load of students who could do part-time work, and I worked for Thomas Cook, and then I did another job for Leeds United, and I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like this, but I thought this as a concept is great. And I went in and I spoke to the job shop, a lady who'd kind of signed me up, and I said, "Oh, this is great. I love this, but who sells this for you?" She's like, "Well, that's supposed to be my job, Jonathan, but I'm really busy. Go on, why?" I said, "I've done sales for 5 years. I think I could sell this all day long." And she was like, "All right, let me speak to my boss and we'll see." And then that became my job. So I worked at the job shop through the entirety of university. It's actually where I got my first grad job from as well. Whilst I was there, like, I walked in one day and they're holding this bit of paper. "Hey, Jonathan, we've got the job for you." And so that was my job at S3. But it was quality. So I used to be able to sit in there, do my work. Someone would come in and register them, and then go to uni, come back, and it was just it was all good. But I worked like 30-40 hours whilst I was at uni. So I've just always been a grafter. So I think when challenges come up, you just look at it and you're just like, well, this is just something I've got to work through. It's just something I've got to work my way around. I mean, there are some things you can't work around, and you have a moment, don't you? You just kind of like, you just like, I can't see a way through this, but you just kind of carry it for a little bit, and then eventually a solution comes to you. So
I got you.
Yeah.
So moving on entirely, a few industry insights. What's something people misunderstand about recruitment in general?
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who think it's easy, like, for a start. So there's some businesses look at it and they look how much they pay and they think, why am I paying that for that? And it's the age-old thing of, like, man goes into a factory, hits a machine with a hammer, fixes it, and charges 10 grand, and they're like, what's this for? And it's like 9,950 for knowing where to hit the machine, 50 quid for hitting the machine. So I think that a lot of people think it's expensive, but they don't realise the amount of work that goes into it in the first place. The industry's definitely changed as well. So the old kind of Wolf of Wall Street days are definitely gone in recruitment. That's just not the same anymore. There's a lot of family people within the recruitment world. I mean, those type of days I think are just gone in general. Like there's just youth of today just don't seem interested in wanting to go out at all. Never mind like every night of the week. But I think a lot of people think it's easy. A lot of people try and do it themselves and realise that they can't do it. So we've recently won over a customer who's also a personal contact of mine, but it's taken me some time to do that, to convince him. He's done it for the first time. He's now like, this is my way of recruiting. So I'm using you. I'm doing your assessment centre. I'm doing your managed interview. I'm doing all of these things. So yeah,
that's great. So what's next?
What's next? So, I mean, AI is probably the most over-talked subject, isn't it? But for a reason, I think, as well. So AI is absolutely like the next big thing. Like it's changing our world already, isn't it? Like anybody who's not using it should be using it. But I think there's too many people who are trying to be keyboard warriors as well. So there's far too many people just sat at their desk trying to do BD just from their desk and thinking that's going to solve everything, setting up sequences to send out mail shots and all these kind of things. And I don't think AI is there to replace the relationship building. So you should use AI and you should use it to make your life more efficient. So things like checking CVs, checking job specs, like all those kind of things, you can use AI for that. But the thing that doesn't get replaced with AI is building relationships. Yep. And I think that we're in a time where people just don't want to go out and meet people. They want to do it all from the comfort of their own home, over email, all that kind of stuff. Those relationships just don't get built by doing that. So you can use AI to keep in touch with people. You can't use it to keep that relationship going either. So that's not a thing. You can use AI to remind you need to ring that person, but you need to make sure you are ringing that person and making sure that you're staying in touch with them. Yep. I mean, so the thing is, some people are that busy, they only want a WhatsApp message, they don't actually want a phone call. But if you just do that constantly, you're going to lose them at some point. Like, it's just, someone's going to ring them and someone's going to take that person off you. Yep. But I'd like to think that the market's coming back round. We're certainly seeing that. So the first 2 months of this year are looking really good. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to build back up from where we are as well. So like I say, the past 2 years have been really, really challenging. We've started hiring juniors again as well. So we hired some juniors last year and they've been a great success for us. But I think that AI undoubtedly is going to change the world. Like it already is doing, and the rate in which it's happening is equally scary as it is fantastic. So you've got to, in the future, it's going to be people who use AI and people who don't, and the people who don't are going to be ones who aren't successful. So you need to make sure that you're on board with this. You need to make sure that you're following the challenges and changes and all the rest of it. So,
it's using it appropriately. Sorry, go on, Ryan.
I was going to say it's using it as an aid rather than the solution, I think. And I think a lot of people, again, like we kind of touched on AI, I think last time we spoke, but it becomes so obvious when it's overused and you're relying on it. And like you say, if somebody does pick up the phone and they have a genuine conversation, there's a little bit, you're building that more rapport.
Yeah.
That goes a lot further, but if you're relying on it, it builds this relationship with you. When you finally meet that person in person, face to face, or you do get a phone call from them, they go, "Who is this?"
That's exactly that. You look on LinkedIn and there's a blatantly AI post with AI comments on it. It's like, this has just defeated the point entirely. No one's having a conversation there.
Yeah. I think there are some elements of it that are a bit scary in terms of what we're going to lose as a result of this as well. So as a parent, I'm constantly having discussions with other people about what the right way to do and all the rest of it is. And some people make comments like, well, children have never been more naughtier or misbehaved or whatever they are than they are right now. But they've also never had more challenges than what they've got right now as well. And can you imagine what they'd be like if they had the parenting that we had? So they'd be in trouble. So I think that it brings challenges with it. But it's absolutely the way of the future. You're not going to stop this. I mean, there's talks on banning mobile phones in schools and all that kind of stuff, but I think eventually it's just going to be so big that you can't stop it. There's no point trying to stop it either. You need to embrace it. You need to work with it. And what it can do for you is absolutely amazing. So yeah.
Final thing I want to ask, if there was one piece of advice you could give to any business owner, anyone that's on their own entrepreneurial path, what would it be?
As an entrepreneur, you've got to know what your goals are. You've got to know what your ambition is. You've got to know what you want and what you don't want, because so business gets busy. And if you don't know what you want and what you want to do, then you're just going to get dragged around all over the place. So by the whirlwind of the organisation. So you need to know what you want and how you're going to get there. You need to have a plan at all times. So I know I want to grow the business. I'm ambitious. Like I want to achieve those things, but I know what my targets are as well. And if I didn't have those targets, then I do believe that is the difference between success and not success. So in our company, we do goal setting with every single person in the organisation. So we sit down and say, right, okay, what are the things you want to achieve in terms of your health, your wealth, your professional career? Where do you want to go and what do you want to do? And without your goals, so this is taken from my godfather, but people without goals in life get overtaken by those who have them. So people who know where they want to be end up there quicker than the people who don't. So I think understanding your goals, knowing what they are, knowing the goals of the business, and then do those goals and ambitions. Are they equal to the people you have working for you? If you've got people in the business who aren't on board with your journey, you need to get rid of them as well. So not in a bad way. Like if they want to go to New York and you want to go to New York and they want to go to the North Pole, neither of you are going to be happy when you get there. No. So better off just putting them on another boat and letting them go where they want to go. So see you later. It's been nice. Like, give me a ring if you ever want to come to New York, but enjoy the North Pole. Here it's beautiful this time of year. So off you go. But making sure that you know what your journey is, what your employees' journeys are, and I think So I know in the past, like there was Rick's someone's dad in the business what was saying, like you shouldn't interfere with people's personal lives, and you don't need to know them on that level. And they work for a big corporate, and that's how it was. I think in a smaller business, you have to know everyone. You have to know like what they do and all those kind of things. You have to know what motivates them. But like I said, you need to know if their goals and ambitions are in line with what you want to achieve as well. Because if you don't, then it's not going to make the boat go faster. If they're like trying to drag you off that way and you want to go that way, it doesn't really work.
That makes perfect sense. Well, I'll tell you what, Jonathan, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much. Learned a lot. What an incredible journey. Thank you.
Cheers.